My name is Matt Chan, and I'm honored to be one of your comm lead instructors. I don't have to tell you how extraordinary this academic year has been. You've had to live it. The challenges of learning and teaching online has been hard, but we did it. As we look at our world, it's clear that the ability to tell a story has never been more important. It's the power of story that has brought about change in our world at an incredible pace. Big or small, stories have provided the context and meaning for the chaos that surrounds our lives. From the global pandemic to Black Lives Matters, the power of story is key to understanding and change. As storytellers, it's our job to make sense of things and communicate them clearly, no matter what tools or media we use. Because it's how we frame these stories that makes a difference, and it's going to be your job to tell these stories as you bring your skills to the world. That's why I was inspired and amazed at the ability of all of you to rise to the challenge and produce outstanding work that was personal and powerful.
You are not lesser just because you are a girl. You are not better just because you're a boy. We are all created equal and should all have an equal opportunity to go out and pursue our dreams. And for us, that means playing on the soccer field. So everything that was in that deposition, the argument is just not true. Don't ever believe that.
Because there's two arguments here, and we need to be clear about this. There's the pool of money that FIFA pays all the federations from the revenue that FIFA generates from the Women's World Cup. What the women for the U.S. women's national team are talking about here is saying, look, what we're getting paid from our own federation is less than the men who failed to qualify for the last World Cup, and we've won the last two damn things. In a best-case scenario, in any given year, the U.S. women's team is making about 11% less, or 89% of what the men's team is making. And that doesn't seem to make any sense because they're the ones that are successful.
And if you want to use what the Soccer Federation wants to use, for the current World Cup cycle, the women's team is likely to have higher revenue since they won the championship and the men failed to qualify. So given the same parameters with what the women have accomplished,
correct,
by what they have done on the field, they will likely bring in more money. So no part of that equation says to them and says to anyone with a working brain, you should make less in this context.
It includes things like where they stay, where they're put up, all the ancillary things to go along with the training.
It's how you're treated. It's
right.
The respect that you're given by the federation. All of those things play a factor into feeling like you're treated as an equal.
Of somebody who's not involved with this, I have no horse in this race, and I can tell you this much. These women are the best at what they do in the world. In the world.
For the fourth time, the United States of America are crowned champions of the world.
How can they not be compensated as such?
U.S. soccer is supposed to be the leader, uniting everything in this country, from coaching, refereeing, youth, professional, amateur soccer. And yet, does anyone believe they are leading in this moment?
Yet another turn on Monday night as the latest legal filings in this case were made public.
Using biological differences to define their stance makes me want to puke.
If I'm a board member or a member of U.S. Soccer that's employed by U.S. Soccer, I'm embarrassed.
The arrogance and ignorance here is outstanding. It's mind-blowing. I repeat, mind-blowing.
There essentially saying something that for a long time we had held in the back of our mind, and you go, no, that's not possible. It's an unconscious bias, right? But when you use the scorched earth argument to not just argue that women are inherently different, but they're inherently inferior. And who at the Federation said, yeah, let's go with that? Because what you don't realize is the damage this is going to cause. I mean, not just to the players, but to sponsors, to the public sentiment, to fans, to everyone involved in the game, when you're basically saying you're not as good and now we've affirmed it to you.
U.S. women wearing their warm-up uniforms inside out. We are told this is in response to the latest legal filings by the U.S. Soccer Federation in the well-publicized gender discrimination lawsuit.
We know in our hearts, and we know with the facts that we have, that we're on the right side of this. I don't think anybody can argue that there's gender inequities in this world, that there's a pay gap, that there's pay discrepancies. So for us, it's not only about leaving our sport in a better place, leaving it better for the young girls that will come after, but just in general inspiring women around the world to stand up for what they believe in. They have an ally in us. We are with them, we support them, and we will continue this fight as long as we need to.
Hi everyone, my name is Joy. I am an international student from China who came to US back in 2014. Coming from one country to another and trying to fit into a completely new environment is not an easy thing. If you just started your study abroad journey and still trying to fit into the life of US, or if you're thinking about studying abroad someday in the future, then you're in the right place. Based on my personal experience, you must jump out of your comfort zone in order to overcome the language barrier, which means throw yourself into an environment that you do not have a chance to speak your first language. Number 1, your roommate selection. Find someone who only speaks English with you because you will be talking with them most of the time. And don't ever expect you will be speaking English with your best friend from the same country. It will never work out. The best way of learning a language is to use it. That's how I met Selena, my roommate, and now my very good friend. I still remember those times that I tried to tell her something, but I didn't know how to express. So I used my dictionary, body language, acting, and even drawing skills to show her what I was trying to say. And every time when she got what I meant, and she taught me how to say that next time, more like a native speaker. That's how I learned. I learned by practicing, and I built a lot of confidence. Number 2, be brave on speaking. Set up a small goal for yourself before you enter in the classes. For example, I need to speak at least twice in class today, no matter in a group discussion or asking a question. That will greatly to push yourself step out of your comfort zone. To be honest, I used to be intimidated or shy away from speaking in the public, especially towards a large group of people. So I actively sought the public speaking opportunities, such as being a host for events, conducting a meeting as a leader, or participating in various presentation competitions to challenge myself, even though I didn't like it at all. After multiple times of trying and self-pushing, my English speaking skills soared. Practice makes perfect. Remember, when you stand out and speak, nobody will laugh at you. Instead, they will appreciate your sharing and being engaged. Number 3, many little makes a mickle. Don't let the excuse of no experience stop you to move forward. All things are difficult before they become easy. I cannot even remember how many times that I got rejected when I applied a job or an internship, but I never stopped trying. So if you didn't get it this time, then figure out something else to sharpen your skill sets and try next time. Use your after-class time wisely, such as joining a club, attending a workshop, or doing some volunteer work. Being engaged on campus or a workplace can speed you up on learning and growing. And this is also another secret to help you overcome the language barrier. I started from none, and I tried everything to experience as much as I can. So as time went by, I had over 5 internships, 4 on-campus jobs, several clubs involvement, as well as volunteer experiences. All these experiences enabled me to learn something new that I couldn't learn from the class. Meanwhile, I embraced friendship, love, and belonging. Number 4, move out from campus dorm. I know that living on campus might save you a lot of time, energy from school to home, but it does limit your life experience. Moving out of your campus dorm can let you experience more about the real life and teach you how to live like an adult. You will be dealing with signing a contract, paying for utilities, moving, purchasing furniture, buying a car or insurance, etc. This is another chance to push yourself even further to speak English. Lastly, please be confident and proud that you are a bilingual. Once you throw yourself into that environment, and you will get better and better. Forget about the accent, grammar mistakes, or sentence structures. As long as people understand you, you are already on the way to success. As time went by, you will realize how comfortable you speak in English with your friends, and speaking English will become a natural thing, just like breathing. Trust me, just speak and the reward will come after.
They think we're criminals, but we're not.
We're here because we want better lives for our families.
Government, please put your heart. My dad didn't do nothing. He's not a criminal.
We came to America because we had to get away from things.
Casillas, do you and your brother have a lawyer?
What does it take to have a better fortune, freedom, and security in life? Sometimes it means to leave your families and friends, or to be in a new world that does not accept who you are.
We are going to suspend the issuance of visas to any place.
These are stories about those who seek a place full of promises. These are stories of the lands full of hopes and tears.
Unless you're one of the first Americans, a Native American, you came from someplace else. Somebody brought you.
This is the stories of immigrants.
It's tough. It's really tough for immigrants here in the U.S.
Cleopatra and her daughter flew from Nigeria to the United States to reunite with their husband and father. He got a pretty good job in one of the tech companies in Seattle, Washington State. For him, everything has fallen to the right place. But for Cleopatra, she needs to start all over again. Unfortunately for a lot of immigrants, having a 4-year degree from their home country is not enough to get a suitable job in the States.
I wanted to experience what it's like working in the US. Then I got a job as a customer service agent in a booking.com call center. So I started on the 1st of April. It was good, but for my qualification, not so fantastic. Because I have a BTech in geology and mining. Although I haven't practiced in that field, but the job I got was a job or entry-level job. The consolation I gave myself was like, okay, this is your first job here, get your foot in the door, get the experience. It's better than just sitting at home. There's no reward for the lazy. I do know that there are some people who get things easily, like those born with a silver spoon. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those, so I have to put in the hard work.
Waiting has never been fun. Cleopatra was waiting for around a year to get an employment authorization document. It was a long waiting time indeed. She used the opportunity to educate herself through an online course and to take care of her little girl. During that waiting period, she got accepted into a graduate program, and another beautiful thing happened.
Good thing that I was pregnant, because it gave me the laziness to sleep. Because being pregnant came with its own challenges, and with the second pregnancy, I was a bit tired.
So hello, my name's Cassie. How are you? What's your name?
How do you manage the time parenting, working full-time, and full-time at school as well?
So yeah, and I'm doing full-time at school because I took 2 courses. First of all, I wasn't sleeping so much. I wake up at 5 a.m. to get ready for work, if I have to prepare lunch for my kid to take to school. I have to do all of those before I leave the house, at least to help my husband, because he will be working and taking care of the baby till the babysitter comes. I have to be in the office at 7 a.m., close at 3:30. The baby still wakes up at night, so I don't even get to sleep all through the night.
I can't remember the other name, but now I'm gonna do 8.
My daughter, she's old enough.
Colored yellow.
She's hungry, she can take a snack. So there are little things, she's independent. For the baby, he was still very dependent on me. So sometimes when I'm carrying him or trying to put him to sleep, I'll be on my phone going through some of the readings on Canvas. Bedtime is 8 p.m. I try to enforce that. Once they go to bed, full mode, full student mode, I go into the reading, do whatever assignment I need to do. Some days I'm awake till 3 a.m. Some days I'm awake till 2 a.m. It became too overwhelming.
Did you able to finish all the readings and all assignments?
No, the assignments I had to, because there was a deadline.
Yeah.
But for the readings, I wasn't meeting up, and I'm paying for this.
Alrighty, 1 scoop of chocolate, that's $1.25.
One thing also I've noticed in the society here, like we were discussing earlier, is that they don't know the opportunity they have here. Because most of them, they feel like, oh, they don't want to be in debt, going to college, other than a high school degree. But we immigrants, we come here, we take our chances because we know why we are here. And that's why Trump is fighting so hard for immigrants to leave and saying that immigrants are taking the job of Americans.
They're taking your jobs.
President Trump's latest Twitter tirade is being slammed as racist and xenophobic.
Like Cleopatra, the Trump family are immigrants. The president himself is a second-generation immigrant. His mother was from Scotland and his grandparents were from Germany. Just like any other immigrants in the United States, the president's grandfather, Friedrich Trump, built his career starting from the bottom. He worked at a restaurant, a barber shop, until finally he became a known American businessman.
What I have noticed, most of the high-paying jobs, let me say some of the high-paying jobs belong to immigrants. They do 3-4 jobs just to get by. It's fine. For me, I feel like it's fine because when I'm enjoying reaping the fruits of the labor I've put in, of the work I've put in today, I might not even remember having this conversation of not sleeping.
You want to sit with Mama?
You're covering my face. And your mouth is full.
Life was much easier when Cleopatra has her extended family helping with the kids. But here in the States, they are on their own. It came to the point where she must decide between school, job, and family.
And I had to tell myself the truth. Like, something has to give way, right? I can't let the kids suffer, or I can't let the school suffer, because I'm investing in this. It's my education. I had to give it my full attention. There are a lot of opportunities out there. By the time I'm done with school, I can always get back to it, right? Or get back to a better job. That's the whole idea of the graduate program, to get better opportunities.
I see that you're very confident about the future.
I'm very confident. When my husband went to graduate school, it was a sacrifice for the whole family. He was away for 1 year. We were back in Nigeria. He went to India, then did exchange program in Watson. So we were without him for a year, but it paid off because that was how we got here.
What does a Chinese girl who lives in the US and an American girl who lives in China have in common? The glance will tell you the story about their lives full of unknown and their emotions recorded in the treehole. The Glance is a transmedia project that will mainly present as a series of comic strips. In a way of comic, people would like to know more about the cultural gaps between countries. The reason I name it The Glance is I feel like a lot of cultural differences always be the barriers for we don't have any chance to truly know other communities. We might have confused experiences, but we don't know why it's happened. Can even say sometimes we just let it be. Those confusions just piled up and we have more misunderstanding between different groups. So the main purpose of this project is trying to call for people to know each other better, but not just one glance. Let's meet the characters. The first one I want to introduce is the Chinese girl Ming Yao. She also goes by with Mia. The fun fact of Mia is she's a creative photographer. She almost has 10K followers on the Instagram. Although she has so many followers, none of them can be her real friends. So that's one of the pain points of her. And next is Anna. Anna is an American girl who studies English education in China. She's a typical extrovert person. However, after she moves to China, she experienced some culture shock and she feels like making friends turns to a challenge for her. The storyline is not that complicated, basically just two girls who live abroad and struggling with the new environment, culture, and other challenges. Both of them have a lot of confusion, but they don't have a friend around them to talk with. So they need to find a place to express their feeling. And the app called Treehole can be the place. Treehole is a completely anonymous platform. You can post and record your diary or feeling on this app. The uniqueness of this app is it can analyze the content and decide to push what kinds of posts to your end. From the beginning, the system commonly pushes posts from people who have similar feeling with you. The feature just wants to let you know maybe another place of this world there has a person who experienced the same thing with you. And so you will have a sense that you are not alone. Gradually, the system will analyze if your situation getting better. No longer the similar people hear the echo from the treehole, but people who are not similar can also receive different views on this platform. So back to our characters. They know each other's story from this app. They also know more about the cultural gaps between these two countries. I will use 4 mediums for this project, except for comic strips. They also have a short film try to draw people's attention on developing more empathy with each other, and the app will provide the audience with the same experience as the character in this comic. Of course, social media accounts will keep updating with the plots as well. The following are some media examples, and I try to leverage what I learned from this course, visual storytelling, and reduce the detail of secondary character and use the shape of a speech below to express their feeling, their tone, even their personalities. And I also try to combine the art style with the plot closely, just like at the beginning, they cannot fit in the new environment. So I want to make the character image stand out from the background. It's only in black and white, but gradually they can find their true self. The colors of the characters are also enriched with their inner fullness. These are some profile of our project and characters. I also have a Ask Me Anything community on the Reddit, and you can ask anything you want to know about the cultural differences, ask in American, Chinese, or Japanese, and some natives will answer your questions. Yeah, that's basically a glance of my project, and thank you all.
I often think about how you can know someone your whole life, but not know their whole story. So this is the story of my grandma.
Okay, we are on.
Okay, I'm gonna try and fix this mother one more time. I'm probably gonna fall off my stool. Yeah, we'll give a little oxygen, a lot of acetylene, and then lock it to all. We get a.
Terrific, that looks great. Okay, that's very dramatic and not too bright for the lens, I think.
The first thing that comes to mind when I think about my grandma is her sculptures.
Kind of, this was another life-changing for me thing that the New York Times sprung on me. And they had a small item about the Somerstown Art Gallery, which was about 20 minutes away from us in Somers, New York. And they were offering a 4-day course in welding. And I showed that to Roy, and I said, yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. Roy said, firmly, well, if you don't take the course, I'm going to. Well, the whole plot is to start with something like this.
Stand back, you're too together. Further off, the better. Yeah.
And to somehow turn this, which is just made out of cardboard, into the metal. Yeah, I did illustrations for a couple of just odds and ends, and I never really had any formal art training. I hadn't found my medium, and this was it. A couple of weeks into this, a hot piece of metal kind of flipped onto the dry grass. At the same point, I heard the phone ringing, and I ran inside to answer it, and it was Roy asking if he could pick up anything for dinner or whatever on the way home. And I'm like, I can't talk to you right now, the lawn's on fire. So at that point, we decided that we'd turn one of the 3 stalls of our barn/garage and turn that into a workshop for me.
But behind every piece of art is a whole person, an entire life of experiences, connections, and influences.
So I was conceived on the Trans-Siberian Railroad, which I think is a very exciting way to come. Mother had never had a child, and Daddy wasn't particularly interested in having another one since he already had one, but I think she just whittled him down out of boredom or I don't know what.
My grandma grew up on a rooftop in New York City.
I was talking about 79 Fifth Avenue, and I think I'll first describe the place because it was just an amazing place to grow up. It also had a lot of downsides, one of which was being the only people who lived in the building. This building was a garment building. It was part of the garment district, but literally it was sweatshops. And up on the top of the building There was a roof with the superintendent's quarters, and he was supposed to be there and oversee the building. The only name I remember is the Dutchman, or Dutch. He was renting a part of the superintendent's apartment. Somehow he said, okay, to my father and mother, who were just recently married, come take the other 2/3.
Okay. You're on camera, babe.
Okay, this is the way it's supposed to look. And unfortunately, it's a perfect demonstration of all the problems one has when I turn it around. This is only taking me a month so far. And we see this, I don't know if that shows up, this horrible blob where the steel is doing something strange that I don't understand. Just absolutely cracking.
There was one end of the roof, which was just a solid kind of tar paper black wall. And so he painted a white line on that where a tennis net would be and attempted to teach me tennis. And every once in a while I'd overhit or mishit. But anyway, I would take a bounce down onto this catwalk and then bounce the 19 floors down to 16th Street. I mean, this is just so typically New York. People would be walking along. It could have, I think, killed anybody. And nobody would even look up.
Okay, we're going to have a little interlude here. This is a slightly different piece. It's called Kiss. And it's outside by the pool now because we had a big exhibition of April's sculpture last Sunday, which was delightful.
This is about Mother, Nora, which I seem to have been putting off because it's kind of hard to.
I never met my great-grandma, but hearing my family talk about her, she's this indescribable, incredible person.
One of my best friends, Diane, said, and her mother is the most extraordinary person, unless she happens to be your mother. She had joined the Peace Corps after my father died in his sleep, and she became one of the elders. They had some horrible euphemism for the old folks, the ones over 65. And she continued into her 70s and was really kind of pissed off when the Peace Corps said it was time to go. I don't really know much about her early life, except it was very privileged. The grandfather and great uncle were in the textile business. They owned, I believe, 3 mills. I think they were all were in Austria. It was a very Catholic country, and they weren't.
Anyway, turn a second to give its good side forward. That's what you always do in movies. Then we have, voila, the bishop, the pawn, the pawn. So the one I'm working on now is the...
Oh, that's dramatic.
So eventually these are all going to be on either slate or marble blocks, checkerboards, chessboards.
When I try to describe my sculpture to people, it's pretty difficult because, first of all, it's fairly abstract. Of course, there are people who would come to the opening and say, but I just don't understand abstract art. And my only answer there is you don't have to understand it, you just have to look at it, and if it pleases you, it pleases you. I think art should be just taken kind of as it comes, and it's okay to me if people see different things in it than I see.
This is a finished suite called Endgame. Fortunately, I really can't get a very good angle at it shooting in the house. This is the best I can do. But you see the entire set. I'll give you a close-up now of the castle, which I was working on in the last segment of this film. Here's the pawn. The other pawn, the king, and the exposition.
Road Signers is an original comic about superhero stories. It is created to cooperate with government departments and local organizations to educate and entertain young kids about traffic knowledge. This transmedia campaign covers from comic to animation to mobile games in order to make the story more stereoscope and complete, and also to engage the audience more into the story's world. Here is the overview of the story. Road Signers, a secret organization that helps stop crimes in the city of Seattle. They're superheroes, but they are also road signs. Public doesn't know that an evil organization, graftism, is controlling the dark side of human beings. They read and repaint people's minds and instigate people to crime. They also paint road signs to stop them becoming superheroes. So road signers have to fight both crimes and graftism. And the story arc goes from the increasing of crimes to a battle between road signers and graftism, and then the city is temporarily back to peace. There are many characters in the story. Speedy, the protagonist, can control any object's speed. Turney can turn objects into any directions. Honey can keep anything going in one direction, and Stoppy can stop anything. Crossy and Passy, the siblings together, can trap anything. Also, there are some monsters and final bosses of the dark side, graftism. In short, the relationship among the three main groups is road signers are fighting against graftism and the crimes in the city of Seattle, while graftism instigating crimes and trying to disempower road signers. In the transmedia campaign, the comic works as an original script, and the way to tell stories is chronological, and it is the base of the whole story's universe and character designs. Here is a simple example of storyboards. A monster found a frustrated man and instigated him to shoot and drive to run away. The man drove into a road where he met Turney, who turned his car into the direction of Crossy and Passy, who were waiting to trap him there. The animation is more fast-paced way to know the story. Stories in animation are more simplified, but it works as an example of adaptation to reach broader fan base. The style of panty stocking, which is an American-styled Japanese anime, is a good example, which is both modern but classic. The game is targeting more audiences because of the large fan base of mobile games. It tells a story in a sequence of characters. Let's try this out. Alright, so this is the main interface of the game. The user can click summon to have new cards. If you use the AR summon, once the system detected there is a road sign, the lottery will begin. And you can have any heroes regardless of the type of road signs that you scanned. And here is Turney. The gamers can also have a battle based on the characters on the card. Select the stage you want to challenge, and before each battle, there will be a short story about the hero. And in the battle, you can use the card's skills to defeat monsters, and simply get level up. So, the first phase of transmedia campaign for road signers runs across the media of comic, animation, and game, and meets the requirement of feasible, scalable, and controllable. It targets the uprising audience market with well-designed storytelling and the marketing with a high possibility of making profit in the near future. Thank you for being on the road with us.
We remember things much differently when we're older. We picture moments in our lives in a blink of an eye. And when we were younger, days would stretch for hours. Our imagination took us to wondrous places. Let us dance without a care. Pretended we were a one-kid band. And sang our heart out to words we couldn't yet understand. We drew days and days and days until we got better. Our father finally took us to a ballet class. We finally raised enough money to get music lessons. And we got the courage to sing out above the crowd. But life gets more complicated as you get older, doesn't it? Our drawings drift away in old moving boxes. Our bodies become injured. Our piano lessons get replaced with SATs. Our hearts can't take any more rejection. And soon, we see art we could have made. We see a dance we could have been in. We hear a familiar beat we try to tap to. And we shy away from singing again. We tell ourselves that we're happy enough here. We wouldn't be good enough to make it. We're too old for that. It's too late for us to try again. And all the excuses we tell ourselves keep piling and piling. Until years later, we remember the drawings left in our moving boxes, the ballet shoes we used to cherish, the sheet music we'd take everywhere, and the old recordings we'd used to make. Regret has a way of sneaking up on us. The thing is, it's never too late.
We saw it coming, but it was too surreal to accept.
What's happening in Wuhan could never happen here.
Social distancing. What does that even mean?
Viral videos and memes flashed so quickly across the internet that everyone saw them at the same time.
I remember the last place we went in public.
The last brunch with real food. The last time we saw our extended family. The last time we browsed in a retail shop. The last graduate school class I attended in person. The news of kindergarten through 12th grade school closures was like a tsunami. At first, everything was quiet.
School was closed until after spring break. But that's impossible.
The laptops came home, and that was it.
We watched the governor on the news for the first time ever.
We tried to keep everything normal for as long as we could. Make a schedule, stick to it.
This is short term.
While we worked remotely, the kids read or played video games. The early spring weather was unpredictable. Way too much screen time.
Mom, I'm bored. Dad, I'm hungry. I'm making pink pancakes today.
Cue the tantrum. Dad has a business call. The TV's back on.
Just for a few minutes.
Monday readings. Tuesday panopto. I did not anticipate attending grad school online, expecting to leave, feeling more connected with my peers and energized by the instruction. Sometimes little feet sneak into the room to steal a goodnight hug.
Love you, Mommy.
Bedtimes got later and later.
Mom, I finished all my homework. Can I play Minecraft with my friends?
Things we've never done before are now routine. Roller skate banana bread? Sure. Board games? You bet.
Can I order a sticker off Etsy?
Sounds fun. Spray painting in the yard? Why not? The balance between our old routine and our new life at home blurred until summer break was weeks away.
TV? Homework.
Walk the dog.
Thank God for the dog. Furry, snuggly, welcoming, hungry, and sharing his attention with everyone. The new normal. Birthdays via Zoom, FaceTime playdates, Netflix movie nights. Suddenly everything is digital. Teacher Appreciation Week brought thousands of videos created by parents and kids. Who's your favorite teacher?
Hi, Ms. Jaffe. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to do an art project and stuff over quarantine. I'm super grateful to have you as a teacher, and I'm really excited to have you next year.
Emotionally, okay, but then suddenly not so much. As parents, we have to balance.
Shh, I'm on a call with my boss.
And knowing when it's time to stop working and snuggle or read Animal Farm to decipher a metaphor. And the dishes and the groceries, masks on at the store. Sometimes we fight. Who's doing more to keep the house from falling apart? Solace is where we can find it. Nature, pets,
video games, books, music in my headphones,
Peloton,
binging The Office for the first time ever,
a drive in the truck to get dirt, secret socially distanced visits with friends. We're doing whatever we have to do for ourselves to stay sane right now. But right now is dragging on. Right now changes by the minute. Who would have thought that the greatest public health epidemic in 100 years could be overshadowed by worldwide protests? With racism and police brutality at the forefront of my mind, worrying about when restaurants will reopen and the spread of COVID-19 feels trivial. My friends are falling apart. How can we support each other when we're all dealing with the same issues? I step outside to inhale. My attention skips rapidly. Why aren't people wearing masks in public? Should I repaint the fence? When will a COVID vaccine be widely available? What should I make for dinner? Why is the US so far behind New Zealand and Vietnam? I'm failing at everything, but my boss was happy with me today. Our neighbor spent 3 nights in the hospital with coronavirus. And at night, we self-medicate. Wine,
bourbon,
comedy shows. Sometimes there is no sleep. Unemployment hasn't paid. I wonder if I can turn my car in.
Don't be negative.
The rabbit house needs to be cleaned. How will I get a job in this market? When is my UW project due? Why can't my dad retire now? The second wave this fall. On we go. Coffee in the morning.
Mama, how are you today?
Surviving through the day and looking forward to summer. Vacations were refunded.
Camps were canceled.
The kids run feral, wild and depressed, lonely and isolated. I'm laid off and working in the yard.
I'm taking compliance calls from around the world.
Who has masks, they ask him.
Bonfires, hot dogs, twinkle lights, badminton.
Puppy playdates? Movie nights? Whatever this is, it just is. For as long as it has to be.
Stop!
This is the state of COVID-19.
Because we are social animals. Any social interaction is going to create a sense of release of dopamine, because that's what we're kind of made to do. And so as long as you're able to still reach out and comment and interact with other people because of what they're posting, then that's what a social networking app is really about.
Let's be honest. Instagram can be addicting. And that's okay. I mean, it's not totally our fault. What's not to love? The intimacy of building a social network? Social validation from likes? Sounds pretty fun, right? Well, maybe not for all of us. Instagram may have a negative effect on our mental health, especially when it comes to the way we compare ourselves to everyone else while using it. New studies have found that the more time people spend on Instagram, the more anxious and depressed they felt. As a result, in 2019, Instagram CEO Adam Mosseri announced his plans to remove like visibility on our feed in an attempt to depressurize the app. This means the amount of likes on a post will be hidden from everyone except the owner of the profile. Is this the change Instagram desperately needs? By the way, I'm Lauren, and I'm definitely addicted to Instagram.
I think I would care less about what I posted and maybe, post more fun stuff with my friends and, I don't know, not worry about the times that I post and just kind of post whenever I feel like it.
That's my best friend Hannah. She's 22 and a small fashion influencer in Southern Oregon. She's one of those sweet, small-town girls that knows everyone and anyone, and they all know her.
Yeah, I worked at Buckle, and a lot of people who would come in and shop are people I've known my whole life. It's honestly a pretty small town, so I feel like if you grew up here, you pretty much know everyone.
Hannah explains that if you want to get as many likes as possible on Instagram, then it really does matter what time you're posting.
There's certain times that you should post so that more people will see it, and I normally post around, 7 o'clock on like a Tuesday or 3 o'clock on a Saturday.
Hannah has a few thousand followers on the app. Her posts average around 300 to 500 likes.
There was one time where I deleted the picture just because I didn't get as many likes as I normally would. So I just feel like it just wasn't as cute as all the other ones, so I didn't just go with my Instagram.
Even though Hannah doesn't profit off her Instagram account, she feels that she has some sort of social obligation to continuously interact with her followers online.
Yeah, I feel like, if I don't post, I'd probably lose followers. I think there's, an expectation of me to post selfies or whatever regular just so all my followers see and, I don't get lost in the Instagram world. But I noticed that people will actually text me and message me if I don't, post in a couple days or, there was one time where I didn't post a picture of my boyfriend and I for about 3 months and I had people messaging me, asking if we broke up and what's going on.
But why do users like Hannah and I feel like we're in a binding contract with our Instagram account? And why do we feel like we can only post certain photos that will get a certain amount of likes? If Instagram does remove like visibility, will that actually affect how we post on Instagram? I wanted to know more about how Instagram is affecting us on a deeper level. I decided to reach out to Lauren Manginelli, who studied neuroscience at Providence College in Rhode Island.
So a lot of research has been done in psychology about the actual biological aspect of what happens when we're looking at our phone or when we're scrolling through social media platforms like Instagram. What's happening is you're essentially gambling. It's like playing the slots. So you're looking for this rush of dopamine that gets released when you see those likes or those comments. You get that sense of dopamine and it's a reward for your brain. So it becomes more of a habit than something that you're actually interested in. So what happens is a lot of social media platforms are aware of the release of dopamine and how that affects your brain.
So Instagram is literally using the feel-good chemicals in our brain to increase the user engagement across its platform.
And what Instagram specifically will do is they will withhold likes. So they have an algorithm that can kind of tell when to release and notify you on your likes in order to keep you checking your phone more and more and coming back for more. And by kind of spacing it out, instead of giving you all your likes as they happen, they can chunk it in a way that acts like a slot machine. So you're getting maybe 5 likes at a time, and then you don't look at your phone for 10 minutes and it sends you 20 likes and you go, oh goodness, I have to go on Instagram and look at my phone and see who liked my pictures. And that keeps you going back and checking your phone more and more.
We get it. Instagram holds a lot of power in our day-to-day lives. For some of us, and myself included, it's our drug of choice and we're constantly thinking about more ways to get a hit of social validation. But let's be clear. Instagram isn't just a popularity contest. A recent poll taken by eMarketer.com showed that over 2 million Instagram users visit at least one business profile per day. And 73% of US teens say Instagram is the best way for brands to reach them about new products or promotions. Think about how we use the app Yelp and its rating system. Most of us take into heavy consideration how many stars a business has before we choose which one to go to. Doesn't that same rating system apply to Instagram and its likes? Removing visibility will hopefully reduce stress and anxiety for users, but what happens to the brands and companies who thrive off of it?
Hello.
Look at the outfit.
This is Cyril.
Thanks.
Hello. Oh my god, I love this jacket.
Joe and Sunny are the co-owners of Timber and Tonic, a boutique that opened up in November of last year in Medford, Oregon. Together, they have over 15 years of retail and fashion experience.
I didn't use my personal Instagram all that much. You know, I'm just not a very public person, I guess, in my own personal life.
Even though Joe doesn't use a personal Instagram account, he sees the value in it as a business tool.
You know, so it really gives you an ability to kind of have like a free focus group. So we utilize that a lot. Like we'll post like, do you guys like this color or this color? Do you guys like this cut or this cut? And, you know, put that on our story and then kind of just go from there. It's really an ability to make sure that you're gearing your product in the best way that you can for your consumer.
Joe and Sunny have a strong relationship with their followers, and I don't think Instagram removing likes is going to affect them at all. If anything, I'm starting to wonder if this could actually help small businesses.
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult, like when you think about the fact that like you are competing with some major retailers that have millions and millions of followers. Like obviously your likes are going to be skewed. You know, you're going to have an obscene amount of people looking at your photo, whereas we're going to have maybe a couple of thousand people looking at our photo. You know, so if you're looking at that in that perspective, I think 100% it's going to even the playing field for small businesses.
I don't know if any new feature or policy is going to change the way social media affects our mental health. I'm not sure answers to those types of problems are that black and white. If Instagram does decide to move forward, I simply hope it will encourage others to pursue creativity rather than chase approval.
And how did we get here? And why did we stay? So far away.
This is a story about my mom's dying wish and the challenges it presents to me, my older sister Romy, and my older brother Juan. Our mom, Chul Nam-chi, was born in 1925 in Hamhung City, South Hamgyong Province. This was before it became part of North Korea after the Korean War divided the country. She was only 25 and living in Seoul when the war broke out in 1950. And she was only 25 when she lost her husband, who was arrested, then executed for being a communist sympathizer. At that time, Romy was just a toddler and Juan was still a baby. Mom had to flee with them alongside thousands of other refugees as the war pushed south. I imagine their experience was like this opening scene of Ode to My Father. This is a reenactment of the Hungnam evacuation that took place during the Korean War near Mom's hometown. As word got out that the United Nations forces were getting ready to retreat from the port, thousands of refugees streamed towards the ships. The military offloaded the ammunition and equipment to make room for the refugees, who were then evacuated to Goje Island, just south of Busan. As the ships pulled out, they detonated all the equipment so it wouldn't fall into enemy hands. Even though over 100,000 refugees were saved, just as many were left behind. Director Yoon Jae-kyun produced this movie as a tribute to his father and his father's generation, to acknowledge the hardships they endured. My mother was also that generation, and hers was one of the many Korean families separated by the Korean War. In the 60s, my mom was introduced to my dad through a mutual friend. The friend showed my mom his picture and told her, "This man lives in California and needs a wife to take care of him. Do you want to marry him?" She had just lost her job as a high school teacher, and Mom said she thought he looked okay, so she said yes. About a year after arriving in America, she had me, the first U.S. citizen in our family. Romy and Juan had stayed back in Korea with their paternal grandmother, and after I was born, they were able to immigrate and join us in California. As they left, their grandmother told them, "Be nice to your little sister. It's because of her you get to be with your mother." Even though it's been almost 70 years, our mom still thinks of her hometown, Hamhung. A long time ago, she told us her dying wish. I don't remember exactly when it was. She was still so young, so I didn't even want to hear it. I asked my brother, Juan. He's our family historian. Do you remember when Mom told you that she wanted to be buried in North Korea next to her mom in the mountains?
That was about 2000 or 2001.
There was a time that she said about that her plan or her wish.
Do you remember how that came up and like what the story, what the discussion was around
I
that?
don't know. I think that we just have a conversation and then just came out that she wanted to get married in North Korea.
And then what did you say to her when she said that?
Well, that I'll try my best to get her wish done.
Mom's now almost 95 years old. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 5 years ago. Not too long ago, one of the 6 residents in the home she currently lives in passed away. So the caregiver asked us what our final plans were for Mom so he could know what to do when that day comes. It was time for us to make some decisions. The first hurdle was to get my siblings to agree to have Mom cremated after she passed. After Mom developed Alzheimer's, she told Romy she didn't want to be cremated because she was afraid of the fire. I didn't realize how superstitious Romy was until she expressed concern that if we cremate Mom against her wishes, she'd haunt us from the afterlife. I re-engaged with Romy the last time she visited as I picked her up from the airport. When Mom told us she wanted to be buried in North Korea, that was before she had Alzheimer's. And when she said she didn't want to be cremated, that was after she had gotten Alzheimer's. It would be much more feasible to get her to North Korea if she were cremated. And if she didn't have Alzheimer's, I think Mom would agree. Romy was still conflicted.
If you think the taking her up north is feasible, then you can push it that way. Otherwise, we'll just bury her.
I totally think it's feasible, but I know it's not going to be easy. The next step was more challenging. How in the world were we going to find out where our grandmother in Hamhung was buried? I've been thinking about this for years and looking for ways to find out. When I was in the Air Force, I had served 4 tours in Korea, working on regional security and North Korean issues. I was able to travel to Chumon, a city in China near the North Korean border, and learned that the border there, unlike the DMZ, was pretty porous. I'm expecting that serendipity will somehow step in, when the time is right, to connect just one of the dots in my 6.5 years in Korea to a dot that will lead us to our grandmother. Though retired, I'm still part of the community of North Korea watchers, always following the news to see what's happening on the Korean peninsula, always searching and always thinking about how we would get Mom back home. I didn't really know how we were going to pull this off, but I had faith. Juan had connections and I had my own. I wasn't 100% sure if they'd come through, but we had to prepare and be ready if that window of opportunity opened. I fear as the generation that experienced the Korean War dies out, the chances for a Korean unification grow smaller and smaller. Mom's generation has the greatest emotional connection for wanting unification. The younger generation didn't suffer the way they did, and are reluctant to pay the cost unification would entail. In April of 2018, I'm excited but not surprised to hear about the plans for South Korean President Moon Jae-in to meet with North Korea's Kim Jong-un at the DMZ. The optimist in me thinks this could be it, but the realist in me thinks, let's wait and see. I had hoped that unification between North and South Korea would happen in my mother's lifetime. After all the pain she and others in her generation went through, all the waiting, I just wanted her to be able to see her hometown again, and for us to find out where our grandmother is buried, so when my mom's time comes, we could know where to put her to rest. Who knows when that will be? Now that we're in the thick of COVID-19, my mom's end-of-life plans have moved closer to the forefront. In this time of uncertainty, I purchased a plot for my mom in a cemetery near where I live, just in case. I figured it was best to have everything prepared. Meanwhile, I keep hope alive and wait. And what happens if North Korea doesn't open up in my lifetime? My mom won't get to be close to her mom, but I'll get to be close to mine.
강물도 달밤이면 몸에 여는데 님미를 이 사람도 한숨을 지기 떠나간 그대님이 보고 싶으려
26-year-olds are not supposed to die because they don't have insulin.
Everybody hates not having something that they desperately need. If you're living with a chronic illness like diabetes, cancer,
oral cancer drugs are not always covered.
90% of suicides are related to a mental illness, depression,
or mental
bipolar
illness,
disorder, schizophrenia.
Not having what you need can get really scary really fast.
My name is Samantha Cook. I'm 29 years old, and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 3.
For most of my life, I've had trouble getting my medication. And I'm not unique. Most of us at some point or another have had an issue getting our prescription filled at the pharmacy. For people like me who depend on medication to live, it's 2020 and this is still a huge problem.
I went back to grad school to do something about that.
But finding a solution wasn't going to be easy.
You know, I work full-time, I go to school full-time, and then there's life. And if I get to the pharmacy after hours due to school or work, and there's a prescription issue and I need to contact my doctor in order to get my prescription filled, after hours, I'm really out of luck. Type 1 diabetics need insulin every single day to live. When I couldn't get insulin, I would either have to go to the ER, go without insulin, or ask my parents for an obscene amount of money at the last minute.
Yale University study finds 1 in 4 diabetics cuts back on their insulin because of cost. Mostly middle-class Americans with limited insurance, putting themselves at great risk.
I can only get 90 days worth of insulin for my diabetes at a time. If I lose my medication, or if I use more than the amount that I was allotted in 90 days, and I need more, it's going to cost me more money to get it. The problem is that for people who depend on medication to live, they shouldn't have to go through trying to make it without their medicine or have to go through a huge hassle to get what they need. My solution to this problem is InstaMed virtual care. In grad school, I explored solutions for people who can't get their chronic illness medications because it sometimes can be a struggle to get their prescriptions filled through the pharmacy. I call my project the InstaMed Virtual Care app. I developed a prototype app, and the idea would be to provide users with an affordable, convenient, and temporary prescription to get their medication quickly. You would start by signing into the app and providing the minimal information that would be needed to pull your medication and medical background. You would then quickly be connected to an InstaMed virtual doctor. The doctor would then chat with you to identify what medication is needed. From there, you would get to choose from 3 delivery options and pick whatever delivery method is most convenient for your needs. You would fill out your delivery info, and then your medication would be on its way.
Something that I've struggled with is that I didn't choose to get this disease, and I wasn't living an unhealthy life as this stereotype suggests.
I too know what it's like to panic when you can't get what you need to live, and then having to go through the hassle and inconvenience to try to get it. We have the tools we need to fix this gap. What we need is to come together and make InstaMed virtual care a reality.
In the greater Seattle area, our communities are facing extraordinary growth and a crisis of inequity. Rapid development has brought great prosperity to some, while leaving many others behind. Rising housing costs, a lack of economic opportunity, and insufficient supportive resources are displacing longtime communities from the very neighborhoods they helped to build.
Community means feeling like home, feeling like family, being connected with others, and With that connectedness, I would use the expression alma, which in Spanish means soul.
Spaces for folks to come together, I just think, are critical everywhere. And our ability to do that in communities like White Center, huge immigrant refugee population, necessary for kids to feel affirmed in who they are as communities of color.
Places to take our kids, to commune with one another, to have spaces like parks and cultural centers, to do togetherness, because it isn't just about where you live, it's how you interact where you live.
In the Central District, it was important to preserve small business space for small African American owned businesses and create some ownership opportunity for the local developer Africa Town.
It's been a beautiful experience. Capital Housing has helped a lot of people around this neighborhood as far as, like I said, give them a place to live in an affordable range of what the means of money they make.
In Capitol Hill, it was important to create housing for the senior LGBTQ population.
As an old gay man, I would not want to be in most of these retirement homes. I wouldn't have any community. Who wants to hear about my love life or my past or my youth? So I'm in great hopes that Capitol Hill Housing can help provide the space.
For White Center, it's also a community that's facing significant displacement, and it's a community where historically low-income people or immigrant populations have kind of been pushed into.
I got to grow up with this shared multicultural experience, and it wasn't until I left White Center and did my undergrad and realized, for me, how uncomfortable it is to be surrounded by a white dominant society, and how it wasn't where I felt strong and it wasn't where I felt welcome, that I really realized the beauty of White Center and why I wanted to come back here and serve this community and help elevate this community, because this community deserves all the other things that other communities are getting, and for whatever reason, whatever systems, we're not getting it.
For us, it's really about how do we position ourselves as an organization so that other organizations in community can take advantage of or leverage the resources that we've been able to grow over the last 42 years of our existence.
This is why these 6 nonprofit organizations have joined forces on the Rise Together campaign.
我妈妈在1月份的时候回了国，我妈是唯一一个没有防备就回去的。就是当时在这个情况下嘛，最担心的就是妈妈被感染了，比如说就是我爷爷有时候还是要去医院的，他就4岁了，千叮万嘱说你一定要戴好防护，然后戴好口罩什么的。
我的妈妈是一名医生，所以在全国封城的时候，她每一天都要8点钟出门，然后5点钟回去。当时他们每天只发3个口罩，因为全国都缺口罩，很担心，非常担心他们会生病，每一天都千叮咛万嘱咐。医生就是这一场灾难的士兵。
就是在武汉有疫情的时候，比在美国有疫情的时候我还要紧张。曲线说每天心情就是这样子在波动。我姥姥在封城的前一天，她中午还出去买菜，然后她说她碰到了她以前的一个同事，联想觉得自己病了。结果后来没有过2个星期的样子，把那个同事去世了。所在的那个院子啊，也是个大院，里面老年人居多吧。这个女儿的外公也在那个楼里住在楼下，然后他就感染去世了。我觉得 这个事情发生在自己家里面啊，那些地方都是自己关心的人，但是自己帮不到什么忙。
挺想回国的，但是就是飞机票也不太好买，暴躁，就是莫名的暴躁，就是很烦。
国内刚情况好一点的时候，我们就有一个邻居大叔，就是给每一户小区里面每一户人全部都在门口放了一包口罩。他就是在晚上，就是已经就是天黑的很透，都看不清谁是谁的时候，他带了一个小孩儿，每一户晚上就给人放下，然后敲一下门，然后他也不说是谁，是我们那个Facebook的群里面大家都在讲。
像我们这边美国的5大的校友会，还包括我们那个高中叫华师一附中，就是华师的附中的那个校友会，在北美这边，然后都有组织怎么样可以往国内去寄物资嘛。
他会给你过一段时间发一封邮件，告诉你你的钱去干嘛。他给我发的是说我的钱给多少名医生买了饭。而且医务工作者真的是最辛苦、最不容易的。就是虽然我不能成为医务工作者，或者我们不能在前线，但是起码可以做就是为医务工作者做点什么。
就是我们那边当地的留学生协会，就给我们每人寄了200个口罩，整包这样的呀。留学生协会其实我们之前也没有什么 connection 啊，然后他们现在就是免费的给那么多人就是寄口罩，而且。当时是美国刚爆发没多久，然后美国就是根本买不到口罩的时候。
我3月22号是我生日嘛，我生日快到了，然后我跟我男朋友是异地恋，他突然给了我一个 surprise， 就提前过来了，然后他的机票特别的便宜。就基本上他那飞机上只有3个人吧，就是他来的那天，当时我闺蜜正好来找我，突然有个男生想起来说，我在外面站了好久了，然后我们整个人就还没有就是真的打着那边激情杀的人呢，然后我一看回头看，这不是我男朋友，我就整个人都属于那种被惊到的状态。
年夜饭的时间应该正好是封城前的那一天，买了抄手或者是买了蒸饺之类的回来了，然后肯定是有酒就是了，有酒跟他们一块喝，会跟我舅一块喝点酒，然后就看着他们吃，然后我就还是敬一圈酒嘛，然后就顺便收个红包啊之类的，因为我姥姥还会给我红包。
我是觉得就是在这种事情面前，整个这个世界是一体的，你不应该再分你是哪个国家的，我是哪个国家的，而是我觉得这是全人类的，就是一次困难和挑战。
From October 2010 to December 2018, 1.73 million people were transported for detention or deportation through airports across the nation and around the world on more than 15,000 ICE air flights. A decade ago, these flights were a government operation carried out by the U.S. Marshals. Today, the flights operate under complex and lucrative private contracts. ICE Air is the shadowy network of private charter planes that operate deportation flights under contract for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Classic Air Charter is currently the broker for ICE's deportation flights, including medical and security support. The contract is valued at $646 million. They, in turn, subcontract out to air carriers like Swift Air and World Atlantic Airlines. and these airlines pay smaller companies at airports for fuel and landing rights. These companies are known as fixed-base operators, or FBOs. According to research by the University of Washington Center for Human Rights, incidents of grave physical abuse have been reported during these flights, including dragging, beating, kicking, shoving, stepping on shackles, body slamming, and throwing passengers to the ground. In one case reported to ICE, a Honduran female detainee died in mid-air. And in many other cases, people were deported despite having pending appeals or legal processes that would allow them to remain in the United States. Records from ICE show that some of the deportation flights cost over $1 million per flight. When these concerns were brought to the attention of King County, Washington, the county issued an executive order to stop the deportation flights. About 1 week later, Modern Aviation, a fixed-base operator at King County's Boeing Field, stopped serving Swift Air, effectively ending deportation flights from this location. For now. But ICE flights in Washington haven't stopped. They've simply been transferred to a new location. On May 7, 2019, an ICE air flight landed at the public airport owned by the city of Yakima, Washington. Since May, ICE flights have continued about twice a week. These flights bring hundreds of asylum seekers from the southern border to be detained at the Northwest Detention Center in Tacoma and pick up hundreds more for deportation. Community members have organized to document the flight. For example, on July 9th, ICE deported Jose Velarde Quiñones from Yakima, despite the fact that he has cancer of the face and was still healing from incomplete treatment he received in detention. Earlier this year, ICE deported Jose Martin Delgado, who was unable to obtain medical treatment and died. Should our public airports be used to participate in this network of transportation and abuse? While ICE works to conceal its activity, these flights remain hidden in plain sight. Share this video, read our full report, the link is in the description below, and reach out to learn more about what's happening at your local airport.
As an international student who first landed in the United States, I was excited for the new life here. But at the same time, experiencing culture shocks held me back from adapting to the campus life. Studies also prove that mentorship can help newcomers release college experience anxiety, but only 43% of them have a college mentor. This finding prompted me to look into the subject matter of mentorship on campus. Starting by setting up 2 research questions, I would like to know what are students' needs for college mentorship and what problems they are facing to pursue mentorship. So I surveyed all 55 of them. The findings show that most of the students have a strong desire to find a mentor, but the discoverability is kind of low, only 2.6 out of 5. The top pain points for them pursuing mentorship are hard to find a match mentor, high conflict, as well as lack of tools to discover a mentor. I also investigated the students' need of mentorship topics, and their most interested topics include academic study, job planning, and extracurricular activities. Another important finding is many of them have the anticipation to match mentors based on their preferences like interests and study field. Given the feedback of low mentor discoverability on campus, I also went to research, does UW provide enough resources for students to find a mentor? The answer is yes. Actually, as well as I noticed on UW's website, there are more than 20 mentorship programs on campus. But the problem is those programs lack of exposure to students. They just post the information on their official website, so students don't even notice them. Other than that, most of the university mentorship programs are limited to the certain levels or majors like undergraduate students or STEM major students. The last thing is, mentors are matched by faculty, not students themselves. But how to resolve these problems? Let me introduce Mentority app to you. You can use UW ID to log into the app, and then register as mentor or mentee. Add your profile page. And then you will need to fill in a mentorship survey in order to help the backend identify your need of matching a mentor. Then you will get a list of mentors that recommended by the app. You might notice that in the upper right side, there is a tag to say the match level of each mentor. Click here to see the full profile of the mentor. You can click the linking icon to see her LinkedIn profile page. And also, if you are her mentee, you can write a comment to her. Every 5-star will contribute to a badge for the mentor. In this way, it will motivate the mentor to maintain the mentorship. Send request to her. Once she accepts your request, then you can start sending her message. In the messaging center, you will be able to add a group of other mentorship programs as well. In this check-in page, you can set up a meeting with the mentor. See her calendar. You will be able to see her time availability and schedule a time at mutual convenience. Confirm. Send a request, then you will successfully book a meeting with her. There is another section called Hot Topics within the app. So this section, you will be able to check the trending topics on campus. Feel free to add the mentor and other school organizations as well. In the profile setting page, you will be able to change your profile at any time you want, update your social media, edit your time slot, and also if you become an experienced student, you can also change your identity to mentor so that you can mentor more newcomers. That's pretty much of my app. Hope you guys like it.